Good morning, guys. It is Christmas Eve and I am doing some stuff around the house. We are going to open presents tonight and then go to family's tomorrow morning for Christmas Day. But I figured I'd bring you along with me. We didn't get hit with the Arctic blast in its direct path or anything. We did have a couple of really cold nights, the coldest it's been so far this year. Again, I don't have a working thermometer, but the weather report said it got to 19 last night, which was the coldest out of the week that the forecast looked. So it was probably low teens here. The garden has been suffering for a while, especially this week. It's been pretty cold. I think the high yesterday was in the 40s. And then obviously the lows were well below freezing. So there's not much left. I picked a couple lettuces last night just to get them out of here. Because they were young and I didn't think they were going to survive the low teens. So at this point, I'm pretty much done harvesting for the winter, which, boo. But my hydroponics tower is growing so much and it's so awesome. So I'm not done harvesting completely for the winter, just outside for the most part. But let me show you guys what's still kicking and what I'm leaving in the ground for storage over the winter. So obviously all my garlic is going to be alive. It's meant to be overwintered here in my zone 8A. I should probably give it another layer of grass mulch. I didn't do it yesterday, it was so cold. And it's still cold today, I just need to do it. I have nothing in this bed that I'm harvesting from. This huge mass is calendula, which is still alive. It's frost hardy, but it's not gonna put out any flowers. Same with the yarrow. This sad little lettuce, which I had going, kicked the bucket in these last couple days, so I'm not gonna pull it out or anything, but I can't eat that. I do still have some carrots growing here, but I have not harvested them, and I've literally never successfully grown a carrot, so I almost don't want to pull these because then they'll be over and I might never get another carrot again. These leeks are still rocking. I'm gonna leave them in because I really want them to get bigger. I'm not sure if they will, but I don't have a use for them now anyways, so it's not hurting me to just let them keep going. These are probably the healthiest looking things in the whole garden right now. The Brussels sprouts are brustling. I have harvested a few of these heads, but you can see how purple they are. It's the cold weather and the inability of the plants to uptake nutrients from the soil. So, as you see, I've harvested some of these, but a lot of them are just meh, not real good. So, that's okay. That's plenty of leafy greens for the chickens to eat, and I'm happy with how they did this year. I'm gonna do a completely separate video about what I've learned from this year in gardening and how it's going to change my gardening next year. One of these things is I think the Brussels sprouts need to go in earlier. I think they need more time. Our nights just get too cold too quickly, and they stay cold. You know, once we start dipping into the 20s, we stay in the 20s every night, and that's really, really hard on these plants. So I'm thinking a lot of this stuff may have to just go in earlier in the summer. That means I'm gonna need heat protection. So I've got a lot of things to work out in my brain, but we're gonna figure it out because I want some Brussels sprouts. All of my cauliflower, it was harvested, as you've seen in previous videos. I've been slowly taking off leaves though and feeding them to the chickens, as well as Freya. She's been helping herself to the cauliflower leaves as well. This kale's still alive, still okay. It's been frost damaged though, and these are largely inedible for fresh eating. But it will pull through the winter. It's hardy. It's hardy to pretty low temperatures, so even if the tops die back, the roots shouldn't die, and it should come back in the spring if it ever gets too cold. This bed, I've got rosemary, which is a perennial, and it'll remain evergreen and live throughout the winter here, so that's awesome to always have a fresh herb on hand. The rest of the lettuces in here, these are some pretty small ones. I didn't pick these last night because they're fairly protected by the straw. The ones I picked were down there. But I can still come out and pull these. They've got a bit of frost damage here. They're a little squishy, but honestly, they're so small. I mean, that's like 3 bites of salad. So this bed, well, all of the beds are pretty much a wash. At this point, I'm just leaving plants in because why not? I've got no broccoli left to harvest except for a couple of these heads. Ooh, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They've all got frost on them, so they might have been damaged last night beyond being edible. I don't know. We'll have to wait till they thaw out. All of these plants in here are suffering from the cold, as you can see by the purpling leaves here. This is a early Jersey Wakefield cabbage, and these are all rutabagas. Still have food though, so that is super awesome. Depending on how cold it gets, if it gets pretty cold, you're gonna want to add some straw or some sort of mulch to protect the outside. But you can essentially store them in the ground, because if it's cold enough outside consistently, it serves as a cold storage insulated within the soil. I definitely can leave them in the ground until I'm ready to use them, because Chase doesn't really like them. I'm the only one who eats them, so I don't want to harvest them and then have 5 of them go bad in the fridge while I'm getting tired of rutabaga slowly. In the rows of unnamed brassicas, everything's still alive. Pretty sure most of these are broccoli plants, but they're not going to head up anytime in the near future, because we are going into the coldest part of our winter, and nights are gonna consistently be in the 20s, possibly the teens. I think they'll make it. The brassicas I had in this bed last winter technically lived. They didn't produce anything, so but as long as they're living, they're helping the soil, so they're gonna stay until I have something new to plant for the spring. See, I had several lettuce plants. Oh, this is right in the shadow. Can you even see that? Several lettuce plants like this one planted here and here, and I pulled a couple of these up last night. This is a relatively empty row besides a rutabaga, cabbage, and this whole row of rutabagas, which I have mulched extra because they're ready to eat. I don't need to eat them yet. I'm determined to find a different recipe for rutabaga, because Chase doesn't like sweet things, like he doesn't like sweet potato. Everything should be like salty, umami, that kind of flavor. And honestly, rutabaga is kind of sweet. It's a little bit like a sweet potato. And I'm yet to find a recipe where I can make it that makes it like more of an umami flavor, because I like eating them and I like growing them. They're super easy. So I want it to be a crop that we can utilize, that's, you know, just doesn't take up space and I'm the only one eating it. If you have any recipes, let me know. I haven't found a good one yet. So that's about it for the garden. For what I have still growing, still doing well, and I can leave it out here and come and harvest as I need: rutabaga, leeks, a few lettuces. There's very few that are still doing well, and kale. And that's about it. The cabbages that I have left, they don't have very big heads and they're very loose. I may come out here and harvest them, like throw 5 of them together and make one tiny bit of sauerkraut. But for now, I'm just gonna leave them in. The real harvest that I did get this fall season were pretty much broccoli and cauliflower. So I got several heads of broccoli and several heads of cauliflower. I only ended up harvesting 1 head of cabbage. Well, no, I've got a lot of rutabaga. So I've got a lot of rutabaga too, but I grew way more this winter than I did last winter. And every time you try something new, and technically this was new because there was more, you're gonna have failures. And I'm learning, and I am actively watching myself get better every year, which is the coolest thing to see. So next year, hopefully I will be able to harvest more. I have definitely learned a lot, and my seed purchases this winter have reflected that. But for now, I have a whole lot of chicken food in the garden, which is super awesome. So they're gonna eat good all winter. And I have an amazing hydroponics tower inside, which is currently growing me 48 blocks of greens to use all winter, as well as the seeds that we potted up the other day, which I'm just gonna try out and grow under the lights inside the house. So tons of experiments going on this winter. There's still food being grown on this farm. I've still got eggs coming from the chickens, and most importantly, a ton of meat in the freezer. So I think we're doing pretty awesome, and I am very excited to see what happens next year. In the next couple months, there's gonna be a lot of building going on. I really need to build a meat tractor for meat birds that we're gonna get in the spring. I really wanna finish the permanent layer chicken coop run, because we are getting a rooster, the one that my mom is raising, and 2 more hens this coming spring as well. So I've got a lot of chicken stuff to do this first month. I also have a lot of garden stuff with the beds that I'm gonna build and the in-ground garden that we're gonna pull all the way to what the final garden will be. So I'm very excited, and I am very motivated to get this done. For those of you that are here, I am very glad you are on this journey with me. But for now, let's go see the chickens. So the chickens have been out and about pretty early. The automatic chicken run door, which I'll link down below, and I don't have any affiliation with them, but the automatic chicken door kicks on 30 minutes after sunrise. So after it senses light, it'll kick on. What are you doing, ma'am? But I've been hearing them like super early in the morning, so I can come out and they're walking around. But I'm not really judging when sunrise is, so I didn't pay too much attention. But I had this feeling. So I woke up this morning, and I wake up fairly early, and it was still dark out, probably 6 or just before 6 a.m. Brought the flashlight out, and sure as shit, the chicken coop door is open. And I thought I had read the specs that said if the battery runs out, it should run out in like the closed position, so it keeps the flock safe, locked up wherever they are. And that's no fault of, I probably didn't read it right, or who cares? Either way, I proceeded to come outside every 10 minutes to make sure that they were fine until sunrise. So that battery change needs to happen today, and I'm gonna wait for Chase because he set up the coop door. So rather than me breaking something, I'm just gonna ask him to do it for me. But the little tarp chicken poop experiment, I think it's about time to pull that out. I also think that I made a mistake in installing it that's gonna make it pretty messy to get out, but we'll see. And then when I saw the door was open, I came out and covered the whole thing with a blanket for a little bit of warmth before the sunrise. So I think the major issue with this is that I put it under, well, there's not too much poop on this side, but I put the tarp under this far bar as well. So if there had been poop on that side, I would have had to just brush it all off as I pulled the tarp out. But it's not too bad, I guess. I really want gloves for this. I really want gloves. I'm gonna put it in the compost pile for now because Freya, I really wanted to just direct apply it to the front landscaping, but Freya will absolutely just eat it. So it's gonna go in the pile where she can't get to it. Well, folks, I've got some chores to do, some cooking to do, but thank you for joining me on this Christmas Eve. I don't know when I'll put this out, but I hope you all have or had excellent holidays. Thank you for joining me today.